Nobody saw it coming. Lauren Boebert thought she had Jasmine Crockett exactly where she wanted, ready to deliver a humiliating blow in front of everyone, but what happened next stunned the entire nation. The room was electric, packed wall for this high-stakes congressional hearing. Every seat was filled, aisles crowded with journalists clutching notepads and smartphones, desperate to capture every detail. Cameras flashed like bursts of lightning, the clicking shutters almost drowning out the anxious whispers that rippled through the audience. Now it's your turn. Do you believe Jasmine Crockett truly delivered justice today? Was Lauren Boebert finally exposed for twisting facts and misleading the public? Let your voice be heard. Tell us exactly what you think down in the comments. And if you're committed to standing up against misinformation and political deception, don't keep this powerful moment to yourself. Hit that share button right now, and together let's hold the powerful accountable. Asterisk, asterisk on one side stood Jasmine Crockett, poised, unwavering, and driven by an unshakable commitment to truth, known widely as a relentless advocate for fairness and accountability. She had built a career standing up against corruption and deception, even when powerful opponents tried to silence her. For Crockett, today wasn't merely about a political debate. It was a defining moment, a test of character that could shape her legacy forever. Facing her stood Lauren Boebert, exuding a smug confidence that came from years of playing the political game, bold, confrontational, and unafraid of controversy. Boebert had risen quickly, becoming notorious for fiery speeches and sensational claims. But beneath her bravado lurked a hidden anxiety, fearful of losing control, wary of her carefully crafted persona crumbling under scrutiny. This wasn't just another political squabble, it was a fierce battle between truth and misinformation, clarity versus chaos. Public trust hung in the balance, and the stakes couldn't have been higher. Millions watched live. Countless others followed online, waiting to see who would falter first. And then, as the tension reached its peak, Jasmine Crockett stepped confidently toward the microphone, her gaze steady, her expression determined. She prepared to speak, and in that instant, the entire room shifted. Lauren Boebert leaned forward with a sly smirk, eyes gleaming with calculated amusement. Her voice dripped with sarcastic condescension as she began. Congresswoman Crockett, I'm genuinely curious. Are you seriously claiming your experience qualifies you to lecture us on constitutional rights? Because last I checked, your party seems far more interested in feelings than facts. A ripple of laughter echoed faintly among Boebert's supporters, emboldening her confidence. Or maybe she pressed mockingly, you just haven't fully read the Constitution yourself. The cameras zoomed in, capturing every nuanced expression, every subtle movement. Social media feeds erupted. With tweets flashing across screens nationwide, hashtags emerged. Hashtag Crockett exposed. Hashtag Lauren strikes first. Memes depicting Crockett as inexperienced and ill-prepared rapidly went viral. The room filled with murmurs and glances, tension palpably rising. Boebert, sensing the shift, leaned back with an air of victory, arms folded confidently. Convinced she'd scored an easy knockout, yet Jasmine Crockett remained composed, eyes steady and calm, refusing to be baited. She allowed the silence to settle, a strategic pause amplifying anticipation. With measured grace, she finally responded, her voice clear, unwavering, and authoritative. Thank you, Representative Boebert, for highlighting precisely the issue here today, the tendency to dismiss knowledge and embrace rhetoric. A hush immediately swept the room, intrigued gazes locking onto Crockett as her counterattack began. You asked if I've read the Constitution? Yes, I have extensively. And that's precisely why I'm baffled that you'd cite a document you frequently misunderstand. Crockett leaned slightly forward, subtly shifting the momentum, eyes piercing directly into Boebert's fading smirk. The real question, Representative Boebert, isn't whether I've read it. It's whether you comprehend the gravity of twisting facts for political theater. A slight gasp echoed softly from the audience. Murmurs now carried tones of respect and approval, eyes widening in surprise at Crockett's firm, confident stance. Her voice grew even stronger, carrying undeniable conviction. Unlike your approach, my goal today isn't about scoring political points. It's about defending truth, integrity, and genuine public service, something I fear you may have lost sight of. The room began to shift perceptibly. Nods of agreement subtly spreading among the observers who found themselves involuntarily leaning closer, captivated by Crockett's composed yet powerful rebuttal. Boebert's initial amusement faded visibly, replaced by cautious defensiveness. Her fingers tightened around the edges of her notes, knuckles whitening ever so slightly, a telltale sign of unease, now captured in real time by dozens of live feeds. Twitter exploded anew, but this time hashtags like hashtag Crockett claps back and hashtag BoebertExpose surged to the top, memes rapidly transforming from mockery to admiration. But that was just the beginning. What happened next changed everything. Lauren Boebert, visibly rattled but unwilling to concede, decided to escalate dramatically. Her voice sharpened, laced with an intensity designed to wound. Her finger pointed accusingly as she leaned aggressively into her microphone. You know what's truly fascinating, Congresswoman Crockett? You're preaching about truth and integrity when you've conveniently ignored your own hypocrisy. Weren't you the one who stood silent when your own party dismissed the concerns of ordinary Americans as mere conspiracy theories? Weren't you the privileged lawyer whose connections smoothed your path into politics, lecturing hardworking Americans on privilege? The audience audibly reacted, with some gasps and startled whispers, faces turning swiftly toward Jasmine Crockett, anxiously awaiting her response. Social media instantly buzzed, streaming real-time comments questioning Crockett's past, memes circulating portraying her as elitist, detached, and contradictory. The room's charged atmosphere thickened dramatically.
Alberts.
Supporters exchanged confident nods. Sensing vulnerability in the air, certain Crockett had been cornered yet. Jasmine Crockett sat remarkably calm, her demeanor radiating quiet confidence, utterly undisturbed by the fierce attacks. She waited patiently, allowing Boebert's charged words to echo and dissipate before addressing the allegations head-on. With absolute clarity, her voice resounded powerfully, cutting through tension like tempered steel. Representative Boebert, she began firmly yet respectfully, thank you for bringing up privileges. Crucial we address it openly. Boebert's smirk wavered slightly, confusion briefly flickering in her eyes. Crockett leaned into the microphone, capturing the room's undivided attention. You're right, time privileged. Privileged because my parents taught me that truth, no matter how uncomfortable, is a virtue. Privileged because I learned firsthand the struggles ordinary Americans face, not from a position of distant rhetoric, but from direct, daily experience, fighting for justice in our courtrooms and communities. Privileged, yes, because I've witnessed how power manipulates narratives, how politicians, much like yourself, twist facts to stir division for self-serving applause. The audience collectively inhaled, visibly stunned. Cameras panned to faces struck with realization, many nodding slowly, recognizing the clarity and honesty of Crockett's response. Online, the narrative rapidly flipped, with tweets flooding. In applauding Crockett's humility and authenticity, hashtag Crockett Truth and hashtag Boebert Silence trended fiercely. Viral clips of Crockett's poised retort ignited supportive discussions and admiration across social media platforms. With calm authority, Crockett drove her point home. You claim I'm detached from everyday Americans? Let me remind you. Wasn't my party that dismissed the concerns of families needing health care, veterans waiting years for support, or teachers seeking fair pay. Your argument about hypocrisy conveniently ignores reality itself, like your voting record, which consistently prioritized sensationalism over solutions. Boebert's expression darkened visibly, realizing the severe miscalculation she'd just made. Whispers transformed into audible murmurs of approval for Crockett's steady-handed defense, the room shifting unmistakably towards her favor. Even neutral observers felt compelled to nod subtly, acknowledging the strength of Crockett's factual, yet deeply relatable narrative. But let's make something crystal clear, Crockett pressed decisively. My position here isn't about partisan advantage, it's about integrity, something desperately missing from our political discourse. If acknowledging privilege means recognizing my responsibility to speak truth and challenge deception, then I proudly embrace it. The finality of Crockett's words hung powerfully in the air, the atmosphere shifting definitively. Boebert's confident facade cracked further, panic flickering briefly behind her gaze, aware she'd inadvertently highlighted Crockett's strengths rather than exposed weaknesses. Yet, even as the tide turned visibly, everyone sensed this confrontation was far from over. Tension lingered, thick and palpable, because the next move from Boebert would be her biggest mistake yet. Lauren Boebert, desperation now clear behind her eyes, grasped for one final weapon, a carefully rehearsed intellectual trap. With exaggerated calmness masking evident anxiety, she leaned forward and unleashed her most calculated move yet. Fine, Congresswoman Crockett.
Oh.
Since you're so confident about constitutional matters, surely you won't mind citing the exact section, clause that explicitly supports your stance on voter protections without referencing standard talking points. Or is specificity beyond your comfort zone? Boebert's eyes narrowed triumphantly, believing she'd finally boxed Crockett into an intellectual corner. The silence in the room grew deafening, the cameras fixed eagerly, waiting for what everyone assumed would be Crockett's inevitable stumble. Social media erupted instantly, with rapid-fire posts flooding timelines, hashtags like hashtag Crockett trapped and hashtag Boebert checkmate rising to prominence. Memes depicting Crockett fumbling for answers spread like wildfire, trolls confidently predicting the imminent humiliation. The crowd inside the chamber, sensing the magnitude of Boebert's challenge, collectively held its breath. Atmosphere thickened, the weight of anticipation pressing heavily upon everyone. But Jasmine Crockett, calm as ever, slowly lifted her gaze, her expression coolly analytical yet infused with quiet authority. Far from panicking, she gently adjusted her microphone, exuding absolute composure. Her voice, confident and steady, filled the tense room, each word deliberate. Representative Boebert, I appreciate your enthusiasm for constitutional specifics. Let's indeed dive deeper. The calmness of her reply startled the crowd, eyes widening, whispers of intrigue and curiosity quickly rippling through the observers. With unwavering certainty, Crockett continued smoothly. You're specifically referencing Article 1, Section 4, known commonly as the Elections Clause, which explicitly grants Congress authority over elections. But you've overlooked the critical constitutional context. Allow me to clarify, she paused briefly, ensuring the gravity of her next words resonated deeply. The clause states Congress may at any time by law make or alter regulations. Concerning federal elections, this isn't opinion. It's explicit constitutional authority. Boebert's confident mask shattered instantly, a flash of panic overtaking her face as she scrambled mentally to find a retort. Crockett pressed forward, capitalizing on her moment decisively. Your attempt to frame voter protection as partisan is fundamentally flawed. The founding principle here isn't left or right, it's safeguarding democracy itself. Perhaps your confusion stems from misunderstanding, or worse, it's misrepresenting the Constitution to justify your political narrative. The room exploded into stunned gasps, murmurs swiftly transforming into louder exchanges of amazement and approval. Live feeds across social media flipped dramatically, memes rapidly transforming from ridicule to admiration as hashtags surged. A new hashtag Crockett checkmate, hashtag Lauren exposed. Cameras captured Boebert visibly shaken, her hands fumbling nervously with her notes. Utterly blindsided by Crockett's flawless constitutional demonstration. But Jasmine Crockett wasn't finished. Maintaining her calm yet fiercely commanding presence, she zeroed in further. Moreover, Representative Boebert, the true purpose behind voter protections isn't constitutional debate for its own sake. It's about preserving fundamental rights. For every citizen, something that should transcend partisan games. And clearly, you've forgotten what public service is really about. Thunderous applause spontaneously broke out from portions of the gallery, a spontaneous eruption of support rarely seen within congressional hearings. Crockett's supporters stood in recognition of her flawless defense. A wave of emotion and admiration visibly sweeping through the crowd. Observers online, stunned by the dramatic turnaround, flooded social media with clips of Crockett's perfectly articulated response. praise pouring in from previously skeptical viewers. Boebert slumped slightly in her chair, visibly deflated, aware that her supposedly unbeatable challenge had spectacularly backfired. Every eye in the room was locked onto Crockett, who now stood undeniably dominant. Yet even amid this astonishing triumph, Jasmine Crockett knew the fight wasn't quite done. As the applause subsided into a powerful silence, anticipation again surged. Just when everyone thought it was over, Crockett dropped a final bombshell. Lauren Boebert, visibly rattled and losing control of the narrative she thought she commanded, hastily shifted her gaze downward, pretending to search through scattered notes, fingers trembling slightly, an unmistakable sign of her unraveling composure, attempting desperately to reclaim some shred of credibility. She blurted defensively, "This isn't about a lecture on constitutional fine print, Congresswoman Crockett. Clearly you're attempting to distract everyone from the real issues affecting everyday Americans." Her voice faltered briefly, betraying her anxiety. "This is just typical partisan grandstanding. Frankly, it's beneath all of us." The audience exchanged incredulous glances, eyebrows raised skeptically, whispers of disbelief quickly permeating the chamber. Social media ignited immediately. Thousands watching live streams commented in disbelief, mocking Boebert's sudden reversal and attempts to evade accountability. Memes capturing her defensive stumble circulated rapidly, paired with captions like "Lauren's losing it" and hashtags surging, #Boebert backtracks, #Crockett clarity. Jasmine Crockett recognized this critical juncture, the precise moment when clarity conquers chaos. Calmly but decisively, she leaned forward slightly, her voice carrying an assured strength. "Representative Boebert, your abrupt pivot is telling. Moments ago, you demanded specifics, challenging my knowledge directly, and provided clear, irrefutable evidence from the very Constitution you invoked. Your reaction is to dismiss clarity as partisan grandstanding?" Crockett paused strategically, allowing the absurdity of Boebert's response to sink deeply into every observer's consciousness. Crockett's eyes locked onto Boebert's faltering gaze, pressing gently yet firmly. "Truth is uncomfortable. I understand. But evading it, dismissing it, and changing the subject won't make it vanish. Your lack of preparedness today doesn't just embarrass you, it disrespects everyone watching. Those who deserve leaders willing to debate honestly, equipped with facts rather than shallow talking points." The room's atmosphere shifted unmistakably. Nods of agreement multiplied rapidly across the audience, some observers visibly leaning forward in captivated approval. Expressions once neutral now bore subtle admiration for Crockett's unwavering clarity and authenticity. Boebert, sensing the decisive swing against her, fumbled awkwardly, attempting to interject. "I think we've lost sight of why we're here," but Crockett seized the moment, her authoritative voice gently yet undeniably silencing Boebert's attempted deflection. "Actually, Representative Boebert, for once, I completely agree. We have lost sight of why we're here. But not in the way you suggest." Crockett's tone softened slightly, speaking now directly to the captivated audience. "We're here because we owe the American people integrity and accountability. They deserve better than politicians who weaponize misinformation for personal gain. They deserve leaders who respect facts, who debate honestly, and who recognize that public service is about humility, not arrogance." A wave of spontaneous applause erupted from the gallery, an expression of collective relief and respect. Cameras captured faces previously skeptical, now clearly convinced by Crockett's sincerity and precision. Online discussions turned sharply in Crockett's favor. Social media timelines flooded with supportive commentary, affirmations of her leadership trending prominently, visibly shaken. Boebert's earlier confidence had entirely vanished, replaced with a strained, defensive discomfort she desperately tried to hide. Her shoulders sagged slightly, eyes nervously darting between her notes and the increasingly hostile crowd, clearly aware of her slipping grasp on the narrative. Meanwhile, Crockett, calmly composed, radiated credibility, holding the audience's rapt attention effortlessly. The room hummed with a palpable sense of expectation and anticipation. observers instinctively sensing the confrontation nearing its dramatic conclusion. But as impactful as this moment was, everyone instinctively understood the final moment of truth was still to come, asterisk in a last desperate bid to regain control. Lauren Boebert resorted to mockery, her voice sharp yet shaky, an unmistakable note, a frustration bleeding into every word. You know what, Congresswoman Crockett? Clearly, you think you're some kind of constitutional scholar now, but let's stop this charade. Everyone here sees this for exactly what it is, just another meaningless partisan show. You're not fooling anyone. Her words were harsh, delivered with exaggerated disdain, yet her confidence had entirely evaporated, leaving only fragile defiance and thinly veiled panic. Yet Jasmine Crockett, unwaveringly calm, waited patiently for Boebert's bitter laughter to fade, her expression serene yet fiercely determined. Silence hung heavy, anticipation thickening as Crockett finally leaned forward deliberately, her voice resonating with measured strength, cutting effortlessly through Boebert's bluster. Representative Boebert, this isn't about a show, this is about truth. Truth, something you've casually disregarded repeatedly today. She let the power of that statement linger momentarily, drawing the collective focus entirely onto herself. You attempted to humiliate me, hoping rhetoric would overpower facts, assuming arrogance would silence truth. But here's the undeniable reality. When you attack honesty with dishonesty, when you pit ignorance against knowledge, you always lose. Today you lost not to me, but to your own reckless disregard for integrity. Crockett's words resonated like a shockwave, the clarity and conviction palpable, slicing effortlessly through every last shred of Boebert's defensive posture. The room itself seemed to shift, stunned silence quickly transforming into audible gasps of realization. Social media exploded in a frenzy, thousands sharing live clips of this defining moment. Hashtag surging, hashtag Crockett mic drop, hashtag truth wins. Jasmine Crockett rose slightly in her seat, maintaining commanding eye contact directly with Boebert, whose the face had drained of all remaining color, leaving her visibly speechless, completely cornered by the raw, undeniable truth delivered with perfect clarity. The American people deserve better than political games. They deserve honesty, sincerity, and respect. And right now, your silence speaks louder than any words could. It reveals the truth your words tried so desperately to hide. Instantly, the entire chamber erupted spontaneously into a standing ovation. Thunderous applause echoed powerfully off the walls, resonating with collective admiration for Crockett's courage and clarity. Cameras captured faces alive with newfound respect, observers rising to their feet in emotional solidarity, recognizing the sheer courage Crockett had displayed. Lauren Boebert sat stunned, unable to muster even a whispered retort, completely overwhelmed, humiliation etched vividly on her face as the applause continued relentlessly. Her notes scattered uselessly. Before her, a physical metaphor for the shattered facade of authority she once wielded so arrogantly. Online platforms exploded with celebrations, memes honoring Crockett's bold truthfulness swiftly went viral, and countless viewers expressed gratitude for witnessing genuine accountability. Yet, even as cheers echoed and the atmosphere surged, with celebratory triumph, a profound, unmistakable tension lingered. An intuition shared by everyone present. This moment had fundamentally reshaped perceptions, but something even more unexpected still awaited. And that's when the real shock came next. Lauren Boebert, defeated and visibly shaken, abruptly gathered her notes, her movements hurried and clumsy. Her eyes avoided the cameras, fixed instead on the floor, unable to meet the countless gazes now filled with disappointment and judgment. She stood, the chair scraping sharply against the chamber floor, echoing her shame as she silently exited the hearing room. The door closed firmly behind her, a symbolic end to her desperate fight against truth in the powerful silence that followed. Jasmine Crockett slowly rose to her feet, calmly looking around at the gathered crowd, her presence filling the room. With quiet authority, she took a slow breath, her eyes filled not with triumph, but with sincere conviction. Her voice rang clear, unwavering, and resonant, every syllable infused with profound meaning. Today, she began, we saw something truly important, not just a political confrontation, but a battle between deception and honesty. In the end, intelligence, merit, and truth always rise above arrogance and manipulation. Every word landed with the weight of deeply felt sincerity, echoing profoundly in the hearts of listeners. Cameras focused closely, capturing faces deeply moved, some eyes shimmering with emotion. Crockett's voice softened slightly, connecting directly and intimately with her audience. But today's victory isn't mine. Alana belongs to anyone who's ever felt powerless against lies. To those who stand bravely even when mocked or doubted, it's a reminder that truth, however challenged, can never be silenced for long. Around the room, heads nodded in heartfelt agreement. People visibly reflecting on their own experiences of standing up for integrity amidst pressure to conform or retreat. Social media flooded with heartfelt messages of gratitude and support. Viewers sharing personal stories and affirmations of Crockett's inspiring words. A wave of genuine admiration spread online, affirming that this wasn't just a political victory, it was a victory of character. Crockett paused, letting the gravity of the moment fully resonate. Her gaze swept once more across the room, powerfully. Inclusive, engaging every single person, watching both within the chamber and beyond screens around the world. But let's be clear, she continued gently, yet firmly. One day of accountability isn't enough. We must remain vigilant, holding those in power accountable every single day. Truth only survives when we choose to defend it, consistently and courageously. Her voice rose passionately, delivering a call that ignited an emotional spark among all who heard it. So today I ask each of you, will you stand up when truth is under attack? Will you raise your voice even if it shakes? Because our democracy thrives not just on justice delivered in moments like this, but on the courage we show daily to protect it. Jasmine Crockett's words lingered powerfully in the air, charged with a deeply personal and urgent appeal. A ripple of applause started softly, building quickly into a heartfelt ovation. Across the room, many were now standing, visibly moved by her heartfelt message. A tangible symbol of solidarity and shared purpose. As the applause subsided into quiet reverence, Crockett leaned forward gently, her voice softer, yet no less impactful, leaving her audience with a provocative, heartfelt challenge. Do you think justice was served today? Let us know in the comments. And if you believe in standing up for truth, share this video together. Let's hold the powerful accountable. With those final words, the room erupted again into emotional applause, observers deeply inspired, voices rising in supportive unison. Cameras captured tears, smiles, nods, and countless determined expressions, proof that Jasmine Crockett's message had not just resonated, but truly inspired lasting change.